In lieu of program notes, I will just say a few things about these two pieces coming up. The first one I wrote specifically for this event, and usually I don't think that you have to really explain music necessarily, but it's for this event I feel like it's maybe knowing a few things about how I made the piece might be interesting. So the first piece, I used something called elementary cellular automata to generate portions of the music. Most specifically, just the rhythmic element is what I sort of generated out of this algorithm. This particular algorithm involves taking sort of a row of cells and generating a new row of cells based on that first row of cells using a number of rules. Mostly having to do it with if the cells are alive or not, or on or off, or whatever. They have two states. In cellular automata, the rules generate different outcomes. The first class of outcomes is either the cells go to all on or to all off, and obviously that wouldn't make for great musical fodder, so I didn't use that class of rules. The second class of rules makes regular patterns. Some of those patterns are fractals, some of them are just stripes or very regular things. I also thought that might not be the best musical fodder, maybe for parts of it, but it might get a little boring. The third class is pseudo-random, very complex results. They're not actually random, obviously, because it's a very deterministic algorithm, but if you looked at the image that it produced with the cells, it appears fairly random. And then there's this fourth class, of which there is only one rule, that rides the line between pattern and chaos. There are bands of repeated patterns that move through and these clusters of more complex areas. And I thought that rule would probably be the best one to use for musical things. But I don't want you to get the idea that you're somehow listening to this algorithm. It's just the way that I generated the material. So I'm not trying to like sonify this thing. I'm just trying to use it as generative material. So I also took this idea of this algorithm and abstracted it a little bit to generate some other parts of the music. For instance, I made a bunch of music and then I sort of applied some effects to it. And then I had this new generation of sound and I applied effects to that and sort of made these generations of effects and sort of combined them at the end in the same way of this sort of generation of sound. The title of the piece, Nidus, means nest, and specifically it sort of means like a teeming ball of life. And so that was sort of some inspiration for the piece. And finally, nest, I sort of was trying to think about it and what it sort of epitomizes, in this idea of a sort of tightly woven structure with lots of bits put together, but really doesn't have any sharp edges inside of it. So that's sort of the first piece is a little explanation about that. And it's got some interactive electronics and also some set audio that goes with it. The second piece will be strictly electronics. The only input device for the second piece is going to be a webcam, which will be pointed at the projection. And there's some complicated processes that go involved with that, and to generate sound and to also generate the video. So enjoy.